Prime time, an early morning shooting in the village of Mangilaw has left one man dead. Plus, the decade-long programmatic agreement between GovGuam and the DoD expires at the end of the month. Nestor Lecanto has details from a recent info hearing. And also tonight, it appears the labor shortage plaguing the private sector's construction projects will continue locally.
Hafa and good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. The Guam Police Department launches a death investigation following a shooting that occurred early this morning in Mangilaw. Here's more.
This morning when I was going to go about and do my daily routine with the traffic control on the crosswalk, and it was brought to my attention that there was some activity that was in the media.
Shortly before 2:30 a.m. this morning, Guam Police Department officers from the Hagåtña Precinct Command responded to an injured person complaint at a home in Mangilaw. GPD spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapao says officers and units with the department's Criminal Investigation Division and forensic science investigators were activated to assume the case.
Now, the preliminary reports pretty much suggest that a man within his 40s was transported to Naval Hospital Guam, where he was later pronounced deceased by the attending physicians.
The village mayor tells KUAM the incident occurred right in front of the Uggan family residence, and they are reaching out to the family of the deceased man.
Well, I tried to speak with Mrs. Uggan, the victim's mother, where she's with great disbelief, and also myself.
According to Mayor Al Ungata, crime is not common here in Mangilaw on Pangilinan Street. In fact, he says he was shocked to hear about the incident.
Of course, right now it's just pretty much shocking, surprising for everyone to find out that it just happened around there. Right now, even myself, just knowing that that's happening and in that area where it's not commonly known for it, nobody wants to find out something like that within your neighbors or what.
This investigation is ongoing. It's the second auto pedestrian accident in a matter of days. Guam Police Department and Guam Fire Department responded at around 6:20 p.m. Tuesday to the incident on Route 16 Fatima Street near the mobile gas station in Harmon. According to GFD spokesperson Kevin Riley, an adult female with serious injuries, age unknown, was transported to GRMC by GFD medic personnel. Riley adds that the female was conscious and responsive at the scene and en route to the hospital. The accident remains under investigation. And the latest from the Guard, more drama as new anonymous letters clap back at an interview KUAM aired with a retired Guard officer. Here's more with Chris Barnett.
The war of words continues at the Guam National Guard. The latest anonymous letter was sent to hundreds of active Guard Reserve members using the Guard's official email distribution lists. The target of the latest letter from the pro-Agagi GU Guard forever at gmail.com, retired Chief Warrant Officer 2 Rick Tenorio. Tenorio bearing the brunt of the assault in this letter. Mr. Rick Tenorio is another disgruntled employee, the letter reads. It cites several reasons for his termination from the Guard as a civilian employee, saying, quote, "These are not petty reasons for termination."
They talk about the reasons behind my termination. Well, that's not a settled matter, and that should have never been put out. And that in itself is largely inaccurate.
The letter also said Tenorio was forced to retire and that his reputation and leadership was extremely negative at best. Tenorio providing KUAM with his career officer evaluation reports, which are full of evals that say he always and usually exceeded requirements. He was also rated best qualified and outstanding several times. His evals routinely say that he should either be promoted ahead of or with his contemporaries.
You're claiming my character of service was a low performer or whatever? Well, I'll provide the documents that will either validate that or invalidate that. There was a character assassination on me after I provided that out in the open interview. Based on things I've gotten back, and after that is, okay, provided a ray of hope to some of those people within the Guard.
Tenorio said the tone of the letter responding to his interview validates claims in 2 previous anonymous letters about the climate and concerns at the Guard.
What I'm getting from people is there's a strong sense of intimidation in effect.
We can write a book about Rick, but that would be a waste of time. So they wrote a letter instead and sent it to Island Media. The letter was in response to our story and interview with Tenorio, and Tenorio says he was only trying to clarify how to get to the bottom of issues being raised in the first couple of anonymous letters.
I never made any claims that things are one way or another what I was clarifying was all of that can be determined. If there's an allegation of this having happened, there's a means available to validate that.
The letter also addresses an interview another former Guard member did, saying, quote, "He has a lot of skeletons for us to expose, which his family will not want to know." And it closes with a parting shot to Tenorio. "Adios, Mr. Tenorio. We are celebrating your departure. Too bad you're not at your own farewell party." We asked Tenorio if he felt the way the response letters attack those who criticize command leadership would scare more soldiers from coming forward.
Yeah, they may be a little more hesitant, but at the same time, because that aperture has been opened, as far as the eye being, someone putting their eyeballs on the Guard and really looking into things, it could also open up things that can be viewed more objectively, and it may still give those people a sense of hope.
Meanwhile, Guard spokesman Major Joe Blas did not respond when KUAM asked if there would be an investigation to find out who's writing the GU Guard Forever emails. The Guard had said it found out who wrote the first anonymous letter, which Tenorio said would be easy to do using the document's metadata. For Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
Meanwhile, a Facebook comment on our Tenorio interview from John Menno said, "Why hasn't an oversight hearing been called yet? It didn't take long for the DOC director to be put in the hot seat. Did they forget there are over 1,200 voters in the Guard? Times that by 3 for the families." Guard Oversight Senator Jose Terlahi did not return a call for comment on this. And in Superior Court today, drug defendant Benito Uggan pled not guilty and asserted his right to a speedy trial. Uggan faces charges of attempted exportation of a Schedule II controlled substance, attempted possession of a Schedule II controlled substance on board an aircraft departing Guam, and possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. The defendant was arrested during a narcotics search at the AB Wanpat International Airport. Uggan was heading on an aircraft departing to Saipan and was found in possession of 231 grams of amphetamines. His next court hearing is scheduled for December 16th before Judge Anita Socola. And it appears the labor shortage plaguing private sector construction projects will continue. The latest bid by the Guam Contractors Association to force the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service to start approving H-2B visas has failed. Nestor Lecanto has more.
The legal battle has been going on since 2017, ever since contractors began seeing their foreign worker visa applications routinely denied, unlike previous years when they were routinely approved. They won a court order in which Judge Francis Tidinko Gatewood ruled that USCIS should revert back to its former practice. But in the mind of contractors, the federal agency has not been complying. But the contractor's motion to hold USCIS in contempt has been denied by Judge Gatewood. She wrote that the plaintiffs have failed to provide clear and convincing evidence that there were violations of her order. The judge notes that in its response to the motion, USCIS now essentially concedes that its previous practice may have involved rubber stamping contractor petitions, which would be unlawful if the visas were issued without determining that all statutory requirements were met. In that case, the court wrote, it has no authority to order a party to violate the law. Meanwhile, local government and private sector officials have argued that the continued H-2B denials are stifling economic development. They argue that so-called outside-the-fence construction projects should receive the same consideration as military projects. Congress included a provision in a previous defense budget bill that provides exemptions for H-2B labor for military buildup-related projects. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
The 10-year programmatic agreement between GovGuam and the Defense Department regarding military training and testing in Guam expires at the end of the month. Historic Preservation Committee Chair Senator Therese Terlahi held an informational hearing Tuesday seeking an update. Nestor Lecanto reports.
State Historic Preservation Officer Patrick Lujan testified that an interim deal will be in place until a new agreement is signed. But Terlahi asked about an environmental impact assessment on historic sites over the past decade and questioned how they can negotiate without it. Shippo Lujan says he has a draft, but it's not ready for release yet, even to senators.
In your last letter to me, you said that you're looking that this document that you've been negotiating is almost final and that you're hoping to get it to final in March 2020. And if that's the case, yeah, it's,
I hope so.
it's sounding like cart before the horse to me if we're not even able to assess the impacts of the prior training and testing on our historic sites.
I think the reason why it's still in draft and not ready to be presented, it's because I requested for more years of data, and they were only available only to extract the last couple of years. So until we complete the entire picture, then we can actually do a really good analysis of the impact of what had happened over the last 10 years.
Terlai said one of the lessons learned from prior agreements is that GovGuam should not sign off until the final details are known.
We have learned from the 2010 relocation PA, which was signed before they determined where the live fire training ranges were even going to be, because they hadn't done the supplemental EIS for the live fire training ranges. That was one of the big issues that we continue to get frustrated by.
Shippo Lujan says they hope to finalize a new programmatic agreement by June of next year. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
A bill by Senator Luis Munoz would make the production of child pornography a first-degree felony. A public hearing was held on the measure, but no one showed up to testify, including a representative from the Attorney General's office. Munoz says her bill specifically targets the makers of child porn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We currently have laws that are enforced to punishing sexting or sexually explicit images of minors, but unless the photographer is found to be in possession or distributed the images, then there is no crime to punish him or her for child pornography, even if the child testifies against the photographer.
Senator Kelly Marsh Taituno said she wanted to hear from legal experts on the potential consequences of youth who produce sexually explicit images or videos of themselves.
I really was hoping that but there may be deeper rooted issues that rather than having to be a first-degree felony for somebody who is a minor or even somebody around that age, it'd be good to hear from the professionals as to whether counseling or some other sort of approach would be more useful. From what I've read,
the possession or distribution of child pornography are already criminal offenses. Stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Half the day, I'm in the club.
Half a day, welcome to Two Lovers Point.
Half a day, I'm in the club.
Holidays happening at Docomo Pacific's Red Friday. Purchase select phones on our popular Now program and choose a free gift, like free wireless earphones or huge discounts on the latest smartwatch. Prepaid friends get free load with select prepaid phones. And get a chance to win a Nintendo Switch when you take a selfie with our new AI dog, Spark. Come in for a happening holiday now. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply.
This holiday season, take a deal home at the Big Finish 2019, only at Cars Plus. Finish the year with the perfect gift under your Christmas tree. Take advantage of employee pricing on new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Visit us at carsplusguam.com.
It's a special delivery to your inbox every week with your KUAM News Roundup, program advisories, and promotions. Sign up for the weekly KUAM Digital Digest today on KUAM.com.
Acting Department of Corrections Director Frank Ishizaki catches up with Chris Barnett after 2 weeks on the job at the prison. Here's more.
Acting DOC Director Frank Ishizaki has been on the job for 2 weeks. He said he's still assessing and will soon hear concerns and issues from officers at the prison. But first things first, we asked the new director if he felt a state of emergency needed to be declared at DOC.
Well, we have a crisis to deal with, and whether you declare emergency or not, it's the same challenges. There are some benefits to a declaration of emergency, but the governor's got the attention that we need, and that's really what we need to drive it. And because she's committed to like additional recruitment and improvements, I'm not sure we need an emergency declaration.
Well, the director said he's working with the Department of Administration to expedite the hiring of 40 corrections officers. Ishizaki said more needs to be done to restore programs that help empower inmates for release back into society. He said with perennial budget shortchanging at the prison, it's become a choice between security and self-improvement for inmates.
The first cut has been programs. Programs to be like treatment programs, like sexual abuse and anger management, drug abuse. Those are some of the common programs that we've had years past, and we don't do them today. And I think that helps prepare people. But in addition to that, we got caseworkers who do assessments and counseling and prep people for release. So if we can prep them better for release, and then we get more parole officers to supervise them outside of the correctional facility, I believe we'll have a better chance of reducing recidivism. And that's the end goal. If we don't address recidivism, we're just going to keep growing our population. And I don't think that's what we want.
A month ago, DOC staff were releasing anonymous letters to the media about their concerns with former Director Samantha Brennan's leadership. We asked Ishizaki how far the atmosphere and climate at corrections has come under his watch.
I really don't know. I've been too busy doing other things, and the sense is that I'm hearing is better, but I really can't comment on it. I don't know. The governor took the time to meet our employees and listened, and she has a list of things that she's promised to do, and we're executing those, but I'm also adding to that list.
For KUAM's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
You can catch Chris's full interview with Ishizaki on our KUAM News Facebook page. House Democrats announced 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump stemming from his conduct with Ukraine, and the Judiciary Committee is expected to begin voting in a matter of days. The White House announced the whole process and said the president is already looking forward to full vindication in the Senate should the full House vote to impeach. CBS's Natalie Brand has more from Capitol Hill.
So the Democrats have nothing.
President Trump railed against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the impeachment inquiry at a rally in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Our poll numbers have gone through the roof because of her stupid impeachment.
House Democrats say the president left them no choice but to move forward with 2 articles of impeachment.
He endangers our democracy, and he endangers our national security.
Article 1, Abuse of Power, argues President Trump solicited the interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, in the 2020 U.S. presidential election, accusing the president of urging Ukraine to announce an investigation of political rival Joe Biden.
The argument, why don't you just wait, amounts to this. Why don't you just let him cheat in one more election?
Article 2 charges obstruction of Congress, saying the president directed the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of House subpoenas. Democrats had debated adding charges, but leadership pursued a narrow approach, in part to keep moderate Democrats on board. Republicans are staunchly backing the president.
He's withstood this all. Why? Because he did nothing wrong.
While House Republicans accuse Democrats of moving too quickly, Senate Republicans have signaled they want the issue resolved quickly in their chamber.
I think the trial needs to end as quickly as possible. I think impeachment is hurting the country, and I have no desire to make it a long trial.
The House Judiciary Committee begins debating the articles Wednesday evening, with a final committee vote expected Thursday afternoon. That sets the stage for a full House vote before the holidays.
3 public works political hires are making thousands of dollars more thanks to pay adjustments. Chris Barnett has more.
Documents KUAM obtained by Freedom of Information Act request showed 3 Department of Public Works special project coordinators received a combined $17,000 in pay adjustments. The pay adjustments were given on November 18th of this year, but they had an effective date of September 13th. DPW Deputy Jess Garcia tells KUAM the raises are the 3 special project coordinators' way of getting a salary increment.
They're under the federal highway. They've been paid out of the federal highway account. So those guys are not actual classified employees. They're SPCs. So those guys don't get increments. So that's like their increment.
Classified GovGuam employee salary increments were reinstated this fiscal year. Increments usually total 3.5% of an employee's salary and are only given after a satisfactory review. Unclassified political hires do not receive increments, but KUAM has reported on several pay adjustments given to political hires in the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration. Garcia said the pay adjustments are justified and have to be approved by the federal government.
In order for us to give them that increment, we need to get approval from the federal highway to give them an increase, because they're being paid directly from the federal funds, not the government.
Special Project Coordinator Linda Abanez received a $3,627 raise. She now makes $58,895 annually. Rita Marie Untalan, another SPC, received a $1,706 pay adjustment, while Special Project Coordinator James Respicio got the biggest pay adjustment, an $11,254 raise, bringing his annual salary to $56,268 a year. According to Garcia, Respicio handles finance for federal highway accounts.
So they've been working for the government for a while, so that's just like their increments.
From Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
With regional headlines, here's KSPN2 News.
Half a day Guam, here are the headlines for CNMI.
Today, members of the House minority has formally requested the Speaker of the House to appoint a special committee to investigate allegations of public corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse of public funds by Governor Ralph Delon Guerrero Torres. The formal request and letter was read aloud by Minority Leader Congressman Ed Probst, who also attached receipts and reimbursement memos.
The recent FBI raids on the home and office of the governor and his associates and the revelations of lavish and questionable expenses charged by the governor to the people of the Commonwealth have severely eroded public trust and the integrity of our government. We cannot and must not turn a blind eye.
Members of the House minority are Ed Probst, Tina Sablan, Edmund Villagomez, Sheila Babauta, Donna Maglonia, and Richard Lizama, who also shared some comments during the communications to the Speaker.
It is our duty as elected officials to investigate any alleged wrongdoing by any official, even if it's one of you. We need our people to trust in our government, and in order for us to gain their trust, we must take the necessary steps in ensuring that what our constituents come forward with will be something that we should investigate.
Floor Leader J.P. Sablan argued the special committee request by stating the legislative body should not act upon accusations and should just respect the process.
Yeah, I understand that our communications of receipts, but it is my belief and my understanding also that the Office of Public and Auditor had already requested an open government act. We should allow the expert entities to conduct this investigation of the financials of the expenditures of our governor. But to just create a special committee based on accusations and assumptions, I don't think it's rightfully right. So with all due respect with our colleagues in the minority bloc, let's respect the process.
In an interview with House Speaker B.J. Attow, he says the letter will be passed on to an existing committee or committees and will be sending out a memo in the next 2 days. When asked about public comments that were made concerning the governor's expenses, here is what he had to say.
But that's something that's I believe personally that a lot of that stuff is an OPA issue, and OPA is the body, the entity, or the government that should be looking to the finances and how it's being utilized. If it's bad, then OPA would come up with a report, and OPA would submit the report over here, just like they did in previous issues that was faced by the CNMI government.
This is Sally Lemis for KSPN News.
For more news, visit saipantv.com. For KSPN2, I'm Ashley McDowell.
Don't go away. Andy Wheeler is up next with sports.
make every day a plus.
Morning, 2 coffees and 4 orders of those new donut sticks.
You must really love these donut sticks.
I do, but they're not for me. They're for them. I will take a coffee, though.
Introducing new cinnamon sugar donut sticks from McCafe, made fresh every morning. It's a little sweet to go with your coffee.
Sanctuary exists to improve the quality of life for Guam's youth experiencing family conflict in an effort to preserve family unity. Our services include 24-hour crisis intervention, temporary safe refuge, counseling, and prevention programs. The reality is, Guam as we know it has changed. The family unit as we know it has changed. Now is the time for us to step in and help youth and families help themselves. Support the magic of giving.
KUAM Sports is presented by Triple J.
All right, welcome to sports. Andy Wheeler here filling in for Dave Delgado. And tonight we're talking about lifting very, very heavy things. And competitors from Guam going off island to compete. And joining us on the show, Grace Takuyan Witt, who you've done quite a bit in the powerlifting sport. Is that what we're calling it?
Yes.
Okay, so you've done quite a bit, but we're not really going to focus about you today. We're going to talk about some other competitors that have gone off island. One recently, Gerald. Let's talk about what happened.
Okay, so Gerald is one of our newest lifters. He started lifting about a year ago, and he competed at his first meet. It was called the Winter Open in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was this past Saturday. Not only was he able to set records for Guam for his weight class, he actually took home first place in the junior division.
Wow.
Open division, and actually took home best lifter.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so making moves, and he is a junior, like you said, so he hasn't been at it for like 15 years.
No.
He's a young guy.
Yes.
And it's a close community that you have here, the power lifters on Guam that do it competitively, not just go to the gym, I'm just trying to stay fit. But it's a pretty close group, so whenever someone goes off island, everybody knows what's happening out there.
We do. Actually, even that day, I was getting text messages from him as early as 4 in the morning, letting me know what he was doing to get ready. We are a very close, tight-knit community because we're so small.
Right.
And we all train together. We're all kind of separated by our time frames at the gym, but of the most part, we support each other because it's still a growing sport here.
There's a group chat, isn't there?
There's several group chats.
Yeah, okay, all right. And it is a small group, like you said, but the sport has really grown, not just in the number of people that are competing, but the quality of competitors that we're putting out there. What do you attribute that to?
One of the things that I attribute it to is the newness of the sport, and the fact that it's something that is well, like I said, new to the sport, but it's something that I feel that anybody can do. Right. I just turned 42, but I started this when I was 36. So age knows no number with powerlifting. I've competed with people in their 70s and 80s, and that's what's pretty awesome. You could be as young as 12 to compete, and I've seen, like I said, in their 80s. So the fact that as long as you're trained and someone guides you, anybody can do the sport.
Right, and it's a lot of the competitions, I know the deadlifts and dames that we did, it's broken down into age, weight, and all that. Yes. So, you know, a 50-year-old lady is not going to be going in against a 6'5", 300-pound man to compete. So it's a complicated formula to determine how well you're doing, but it's just for your class, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So anyone can do it, but it takes a lot of work. You don't walk into the gym and immediately start lifting 400 pounds.
No. Like for me, it took me almost 5 years to get to that point, but we do what's called programming. So it's not like I'm going to go to the gym. I just decide I'm going to lift weights. There's a method to the madness. Most powerlifting programs run from 6 to 10 weeks, and it's really based on your skill set, how much you can handle. It's even based on your work schedule. So it really...
Just find that time to go to the gym, and I mean, you don't need to spend 12 hours in the gym every day, do you?
You don't. In fact, I've cut down my training time down to like 2 to 3 days of heavy lifting. I used to do 5 to 6.
Because you find out what works best for you.
Yes.
And that goes for every individual that wants to get into it. You find out what works for you, because if I go into the gym and I see you lifting 200 pounds, I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen for me. Here's Big Tone over here lifting, 3 cars at the same time. That's not going to be me. You have to find out what works for you.
Absolutely. And what's great is that, I've done this long enough that I can look at someone in the gym. I'm like, okay, this person just has natural strength. Now, there's some people that actually have to work into it. But here's an example. One of the guys that's actually representing Guam, he's actually in Hawaii. They flew out yesterday. His name is Chris. I met Chris, and he's now competing in his first meet, which is pretty awesome. And I saw him like, you need to be a powerlifter.
Right.
Like, you just know.
They have the good form, the natural ability, the strength,
Yes.
and you see like, hey, we can cultivate that.
Absolutely.
So someone, if they are interested in getting into powerlifting competitively, where would they even start?
Well, locally, I mean, there are several of us here on island. I probably have the most experience. I've had the most competitions under my belt, going on 6 years of competing.
Nice.
I'm actually the chair for Guam for the USPA Federation. So if they want to learn how to be able to even get onto that platform nationally, then they can come and talk to me about it, and I can prep them. So I actually coach powerlifting as well. By the end of this month, I will be Guam's only certified powerlifting coach.
Oh, wow, good.
And I want to be able to see that people, anybody can do it.
Yeah, anybody can, but it does require a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay, so you have some big things coming up. There's competitions off island, and we're going to get into that in the podcast after this, so make sure you check us out on social media. Grace, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, powerlifting, guys. Go lift heavy things with Grace. All right, that's it for sports. We'll be back with more.